discussing about the pattern or the probable or the possible pattern of prelims 2020, and we already covered our discussion with regard to Indian history, and to be more precise, modern Indian history, which was of course a crucial area or a major area with regard to any prelims, of course those prelims that are being conducted after 2016. And the number of questions, as I predicted, maybe from 5 to 6 with regard to modern India, and overall in history it may be 10 to 15. That may include culture questions too. Today I am making another effort, perhaps out of my systematic analysis or understanding of the questions that were pertaining to the area of environment and ecology. Today I would be making a close analysis of the possible questions of UPSC Prelims 2020 with regard to ecology as well as environment. We know very well that ecology and environment today constitute the most sought after area with regard to Prelims 2020. Previously it was not like that. At a point of time, maybe in 2012, maybe in 2013, in 2014, etc., the number of questions from environment were 4 or 5 or at times 6 or 7, and the part taken by environment was covered, or we can say it was geography that was more important and environment less important. But very recently, since UPSC decided to combine the preliminary examination for IFOS, that is Indian Forest Service examination, as well as for other services together, now we have a common prelims for both Forest Service examination, which is not part of other services today, which is separated from other services, and the common UPSC prelims. The number of questions has increased from the ecology or environment side. The reason behind this is very simple. As the Forest Service candidates are supposed to be satisfied, they are supposed to be catered, UPSC found it ideal to increase the number of questions from environment as well as from ecology. I am not going deep into that part, that is not my area of discussion today. Which all would be the probable or possible questions from environment and ecology? If we go for a close analysis of 2017 paper, 18 paper and 19 paper, from conventional environment and ecology and from current environment and ecology to be taken together, to be brought together, there was roughly 15 to 20 questions. If it was 2016 paper, there were almost 16 questions. If it was 2017 paper, there were 19 questions from this area. And when we come to 2018 paper, there was 20 questions. And 2019 paper again, the number of questions has only increased to 22. Naturally, this single subject determines whether you clear prelims examination or not. Now we cannot ever neglect this area because this is a crucial area, and environment and ecology has to be understood with the seriousness that has to be given to this particular area. Today I am just giving you some tips to deal with environment and ecology. Before dealing with those tips, let us discuss what all would be the possible questions of 2020. You can divide environment and ecology studies into 3 broad areas. First is the biodiversity part, definitely. It is definitely a very important area, no doubt. Second one is the environmental issues or environmental concerns area. Definitely that is also a second important area. And the third, which is also having a current focus. And the third important area is the concepts related to environment and the organizations related to environment. These would be the 3 possible areas from where you can expect maximum number of questions in 2020. I repeat, first is biodiversity. As I stated before, this is a very important area. Biodiversity of course includes all those questions connected with, we know very well that biodiversity has 2-3 variants. There is a genetic biodiversity, there is a species diversity. So there are different variants of biodiversity. So biodiversity becomes a crucial area, and in almost all environment textbooks, biodiversity is discussed as a very important area, and you can definitely expect questions from this area. And again, what would be the nature of that question? That is also definitely a matter of discussion. If a question comes from biodiversity area, UPSC would be all the more interested to check whether the candidate has a conceptual understanding regarding this area and whether he updated the recent developments with regard to this area. How can both these things be possible? To develop a conceptual understanding, or to be more precise, to develop a concept based understanding in environment, you can rely on any standard textbook on environment, anything. There are a number of textbooks issued by different people. You can rely on any of these textbooks, absolutely no problem. All right. And conceptual understanding is done. But current focus with regard to biodiversity is something different. You need, for developing a current focus, you have only one source material, listen carefully, and that is nothing other than the Hindu newspaper. If we examine the past question papers of 5 years, that is almost half a decade, right from 2015, 16, 17, 18 and 19, almost all current biodiversity questions were picked from the Hindu newspaper, and that too mainly from two areas. One is the page that discuss about environment or environment and ecological issues, and second one is from the international page, which also includes especially news items that is not there every day, that may be published maybe twice a week or thrice a week. We can find environment related news items in Hindu newspaper. So biodiversity becomes a very crucial area, and that should be the first and the top most priority area to be handled or to be expected by a candidate in 2020 prelims. Once this biodiversity part is over, as I stated before, then comes the second important area. Second important area is obviously those things that are relevant from a current point of view, especially environmental issues. We know very well that United States of America, I mentioned this in the previous class too, United States of America withdrew from the Paris Climate Agreement. A number of environmental issues are happening all around the world, maybe like global warming, which is not a recent issue, but which is an issue for the past many years. Okay, maybe like those issues that comes, the recent flooding that happens in different parts of the world, climate change definitely, and those aspects related and those terms related to all these things. This is a short area for UPSC, and again here also there is an easy strategy. UPSC always prefer the Hindu newspaper to any other source material for asking an environmental issue related question. I repeat, Hindu newspaper is again the source material for dealing with an environmental issue or an environmental concern related question. Say for example, before many years, in 2012, I guess, there was a question on diclofenac. Diclofenac was actually a chemical drug that is administered to animals, okay, which has different type of health issues, health ailments, and even diclofenac is added, some quantity is added to drugs that are administered to human beings also. Question was related to was not directly connected to diclofenac, was related to a recent news item that was related to the death of vultures. Vultures were dying on a large scale in India, and the number of vulture population was dwindling, was declining rapidly. And now, out of maybe previously we had almost a very healthy vulture population. Today it has got downsized like anything, that not even 1/3 vultures survive. Why this happens? That question was directly handpicked by UPSC from a news item that was published in the Hindu maybe few days back of the prelims examination. That question was handpicked, and the reason was this: the use of diclofenac for animals. And when vultures feed on the carcasses, we know very well that vulture is definitely a carnivore, and vulture feed on the carcasses of that particular type of animal, that is cattle. Automatically what happens? Vulture cannot handle the large amount of diclofenac that enters its body system, its organism, and the vulture obviously dies due to kidney failure. This was the obvious answer for that question. So I stated this as an example because you can expect similar questions related to recent environmental issues that are directly handpicked from the Hindu. And once this is also over, once this task is also over, our second area is over, that is environmental issues and concerns, which are very important. Third area definitely is connected with, we can divide that third area into 2-3 broader platforms. Number one is environmental organizations. We have a lot of environmental organizations. I'll give you an example, BirdLife International. UPSC used to ask a question related to BirdLife International in 2018. It was a match the following type of question. IUCN, International Union for the Conservation of Nature, and a number of similar large and small environmental organizations. And again, here comes a question, how can we deal with all these environmental organizations? There is an easy strategy. Understand those organizations that are under the aegis of UN, number one. Understand those organizations which are recently in news. I repeat, understand those organizations which are under the aegis of UN, and understand those organizations which are recently in news. That is sufficient. But again, it may not be sufficient. You need to read one more thing. What are the publications of those organizations? Almost all these organizations have a handbook of their own. They have a publication of their own. Like say for example, there is an environmental forum that publishes the World Environmental Outlook and similar other publications. So you need to know which are the major publications of these environmental organizations. This is very important because you can expect questions from this area. Again, once publications are over, there is one more area where the candidate should focus his or her attention, and that is the indexes, if any, that are employed by these organizations. We know very well that when we go for human development, we have the Human Development Index. Okay, we have the Happiness Index. We have many other World Development Index, different types of indexes. When we go for the economic side, that we'll discuss in another session. Almost many of these organizations rely on some indexes, or they themselves publish some index like the World Economic Forum, and naturally we need to know which is that peculiar index. This is an easy strategy. So three things: environmental organization, what they are concerned about, that is close to the environmental organization. Imagine BirdLife International is concerned about the protection of birds, especially conservatory and migrant birds, again precisely. Then second thing, once their concern is over, their indexes, if any index is used by this organization, and the last one, publication. Broadly speaking, broadly understanding these three: biodiversity part, environmental issues, especially those published in Hindu, recent environmental issues to be more precise, and lastly, environmental organizations, publications and indexes, which all come together. Once you are familiar with all these areas, I am assuring you that your prelims preparation for environment is done substantially. Substantially in the sense you have covered almost all crucial areas, and once you are familiar with these areas, you can definitely eliminate. Even if a question comes from an unfamiliar area, the options may be familiar for you because somewhere you went through these options when you were studying these three areas, especially environmental publications and organizations and indexes. And now it is very easy for you people to deal or to clear this particular area and to score high in environment, because out of my analysis of the question papers, maybe from 2011 onwards, I am pretty sure, I am damn sure that majority of the questions came from all these three areas, and these three areas becomes very crucial. And again, one more thing is to be noted, that are the major environmental treaties and protocols. We know very well that over a period of time, number of treaties and protocols were signed right from the Rio de Janeiro summit. There was a continuous process of signing a number of treaties that include different, like migrant birds, like the transfer of what you say, genetically engineered animals and plants, or treaties related to that, and similar number of treaties which also comes to the picture, which is also very important. Once you cover all these areas, you can make yourself sure that you can score high with regard to the most important area of UPSC prelims examination, keeping in mind that there may not be any prelims question paper in 2020, 21 or 22 or even thereafter without minimum 15 environment related questions. So definitely this is a very, very, very important area, and you need to give maximum attention to this area. So please follow the strategy that we discussed currently. Thank you.